So for me, the mainstream media are really the main culprit behind everything. I sat back and I watched everything and I was paying attention to everything that they were coming out with, and I predicted what they were going to say. More and more people are losing faith in the mainstream media, and anybody who sits and calls the mainstream media by the majority, calls them something right wing, you would have to look at them and think to yourself, what planet are you actually living on? Because I can remember people trying to claim that the BBC are so right wing. What?
So you say, let's not waste time on focusing on something that isn't going to happen.
Yes.
And it's not going to happen if the Lib Dems don't get behind it.
Well, look,
If anybody who's ever watched the likes of Question Time knows that even all their audience members happen to be so pro-left wing. Even when it came to UKIP and everything, they were calling them racists, etc. You'll remember all that? If you favoured, Brexit to get out of the European Union, then you're a racist, you're against the immigration crisis, you're a racist, you're a homophobe. The hard left, whether it was throwing milkshakes or whatever, attacking Nigel Farage over many things, even outside an Edinburgh pub where you would see many of them attacking Nigel and calling him a homophobe and etc. And this is the sort of vicious things that they play at, right? Because you can't argue with these people. There's no reason with them.
Homophobic, racist scumbag. Who's fault? Working class. What are you actually going to do for the people of Scotland? What are your measures for austerity?
Supporter base. Our biggest supporter base. Our biggest supporter base is working class.
What's your position on immigration? Are we a multicultural society? Multiculturalism within Britain?
We must all speak the same language.
No, that's rhetoric. What's your position on multicultural?
A lot of them who are part of this Antifa mob, they're the culprits that are really the troublemakers.
The interesting thing about Antifa is that it's not an organization, it is a philosophy and an ideology. Antifa believes that it's morally justifiable to attack people simply because you disagree with them politically.
All of it is backed in basically shit stirred through that of the mainstream media. Again, they play all these games where it's all identity politics. Even throughout Brexit, all you would hear is the utter nonsense. Every 2 minutes, every single interview, every single thing, you turn on Sky News, you turn on the BBC, you turn on, doesn't matter what it was always coming out with, we were going to crash out, we were going to crash out of the European Union, crash out, everything's crash out, this, crash out, that, and crash out. The mainstream media, everything's about, it's because of leaving the European Union, then crash out.
Crash out.
Crashing out. Crashing out.
crash out.
Crash out.
Crash out.
The European Union's been in decline for the past 40 odd years. It's trailing miles behind the rest of the world in trade. It's a failing trade bloc, and despite the fact that the mess of economies like Italy, Spain, Greece, despite the mess that all these countries are in, they want to tell us that we're all racists, etc., and homophobes, and whatever they want to call us, like xenophobes or whatnot, and that we're going to crash out.
Crash out.
Crashing out. Crashing out.
Crash out.
Crash out.
Crash out.
Everything's crash out. Crash out.
Crash out.
Crashing out. Crashing out.
Crash out.
Crash out.
Crash out.
Not even happened yet, and they're saying, crash out.
Crash out.
Crashing out. Crashing out.
Crash out.
Crash out.
Crash out.
Crash out this and crash out that, because it's probably all funded by the likes of George Soros. You could see right through the complete and utter pish what they were coming out with when it came to these whole protests. I knew that the headlines would be right-wing thugs or right-wing far-right this and far-right that. Everything's far right, because if you oppose the minimum wage, it's far right.
Groups, including some far-right activists, had gathered in the capital, saying they were protecting statues from anti-racism protesters.
Far right and far right, everything's far right. You oppose socialism, far right. You oppose communism, far right. Everything's far right. Deregulation of the economy, far right. And they keep doing that. They repetitively keep on doing that. Everything's far right, far right, far right. If it's far right, of course, it's evil. It's wrong. It's apparently something that will destroy you. And they do it on purpose. These people obviously feel strongly, and rightly so, know, they get people to believe that all of that's just far right. Far right this and far right that and far right this, that and the next thing. Far right, far right, far right. I'll tell you something. See, if that was the case, then the whole of Great Britain, in fact, most of the British population who voted for Boris Johnson are all far right. They must all be far right for opposing Jeremy Corbyn. Laughable. Laughable. Their socialism has led millions of people to their deathbed, but, you know, we're all far right. And that's the reason why the BBC should be defunded. If you ask me, the entire thing needs privatised. We need a free market. We really need a free market within the mainstream media, because we're sick and tired of their nonsense.